Okay, guys, I'm gonna need your help on this one. So, Marvel sent me a little Valentine heart to celebrate the release of Captain America Brave New World. I filmed me opening it and I thought I did a really great job, but when I sent it to Marvel, they ghosted me. I don't know why. Let me play it for you. So, to celebrate the release of Captain America Brave New World releasing on Valentine's Day, Marvel sent me a little breakable heart with this cute little hammer, but what would be the fun in breaking it with this hammer? If I gotta smash something, I'm doing it the right way. And I am ready to go. This is for my singles on Valentine's Day. Oh! Hey, it's filled with a lot of nice candy. That's tasty. Okay, that was pretty fun, but what am I supposed to do with these now?
You get those toy Hulk hands, and you brace yourself, and you ravage the mid.
Oh, thank you, Marvel! I worked pretty hard on that. I have no idea why they wouldn't like it. Either way, Captain America Brave New World has now finally officially been released in theaters, and with the fourth Captain America movie now out, it is time for us to dive into full spoilers. So that's exactly what I'll be doing here for you guys, is I'll be giving you my spoiler review for Captain America Brave New World. I'll be giving you my reaction to some of the Easter eggs, cameos, things that build out the MCU, that post-credit scene that I think is a complete mess. But it's not just gonna be all about my opinion. I want to hear from you guys. If you are someone that is now seeing Captain America Brave New World, are you happy with the movie? Do you think there's a lot of people who are being overly harsh on the film, or you think, no, this was a really big waste of time? What is Marvel doing? I got really good things and I got really bad things to say about this movie, so I'm curious to hear where you guys land. Okay, but just getting into it here, there is so much to talk about with this film. I'm gonna start again with my overall thoughts. I think this is still an enjoyable movie, but it has so many flaws that really hold it back. I guess it's kind of a miracle that this even turned out being enjoyable for me with all the reshoots and behind the scene problems. Heck, even yesterday, articles started coming out of behind the scene crew members talking about the difficulty working on this movie. And even doing some research for this spoiler review, there's going to be a section where I talk about some of the major changes of this movie and characters that were erased. But okay, starting off with the very beginning of this movie, I was surprised. This is one of the first Marvel movies where they decided not to use the Marvel logo intro. Since it's been introduced in the first Doctor Strange movie, it's been part of every Marvel film, and whether they have the classic Marvel theme, I love that logo, and I think it's so cool, and it kind of sets the mood and gets me excited that I'm like, hey, I'm watching a new Marvel movie. This is exciting. But instead, it was just black and white text, and I guess they're just going a different direction. It's going to be interesting to see when Thunderbolts or Fantastic Four comes out, whether they are completely getting rid of that intro. And if they are, that's gonna make me a little sad. But from there, we open up on a mission where Sam Wilson is tasked to fight members of the Serpent Society because they're currently stealing a precious package that we later find out is a chunk of adamantium, and Sam Wilson has just been tasked with retrieving it. Now, elements of this fight scene I really like. Like, I love Sam Wilson in the White Falcon suit. That helmet, the suit, and even the unique fight scenes he has with his wings, I thought worked. Unfortunately, in those same moments, we do get a lot of hand-to-hand combat, and I just thought a lot of that was very choppy, badly edited, slow, and really just screams so generic. And that's really where I felt this director just didn't know how to go about with some of the action sequences, because for every cool scene we would get with aviation or the Red Hulk fight, there was about 3 other hand-to-hand combat scenes that just fell flat. This is also early on where we get introduced to Giancarlo Esposito's character of Sidewinder, just a member of the Serpent Society. This is where one of the first big changes of this movie comes in, because Giancarlo Esposito is a late addition and is part of reshoots, so every time he's on screen, this was filmed after the movie was finished. Because originally, the members of the Serpent Society were completely different actors. It was Seth Rollins, the wrestler, and another actress named Rosa Solares, who even had her own McDonald's toy. She was part of the Serpent Society that fights against Sam Wilson, but I guess those were just elements of the movie that didn't fit well. Those action scenes were really bad, and they swapped them in for Giancarlo Esposito. Without seeing those other scenes, I can't really tell you, but I do think there's a couple of scenes with Giancarlo Esposito that make up for it. I'll get onto that in a sec, but that mission is finished. They're successful. They move on. And here's really where you start to notice, okay, it is mandatory viewing for you to see a couple of projects. For one, The Incredible Hulk. They flat out start the movie with news reports and showing you footage from 2008's Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton's version of the character Abomination, and they do swap out William Hurt, who passed away but was part of those movies, with the Harrison Ford that even was rocking a mustache and was in the old Green General outfit. That's kind of the part of this movie that I was just most shocked about. I am a big defender of The Incredible Hulk from 2008. I love that movie, and I wish we would have gotten more of that kind of Hulk in what followed in the MCU, but we've seen what they've done with the Hulk and his characters, and I always think it's a huge disservice and disappointment. But man, in the year 2025, I don't think anybody was begging for a sequel to The Incredible Hulk that did not include Bruce Banner. Kevin Feige, my guy, I love you, but what compelled you to think, yeah, those loose ends we started in our second movie of the MCU? I think it's time we wrap that up before Secret Wars. If you never touched upon it again, I don't think people would have cared. There's like a laundry list of post-credit scenes, loose ends, other characters, and things that are still left open I would have rather have seen touched upon. But okay, with that said, playing devil's advocate, it is them, though, tying up those loose ends and connecting things from several different projects that I'm like, I do like this connectivity happening in the MCU. Like, even playing you this clip from Black Widow.
From my vantage point, you look like you could use some bed rest. What is this, your second triple bypass?
Yes, that was William Hurt, but since Harrison Ford is supposed to be playing the same character of Thunderbolt Ross, just those little lines of dialogue perfectly fit into the things happening in Captain America Brave New World, but not just stuff from Black Widow and Incredible Hulk, also from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because we get a scene of Sam Wilson who decides to take Joaquin Torres, the Falcon, and introduce him to Isaiah Bradley, and this is the movie's way of catching up the audience who decided not to watch Disney Plus or have a Disney Plus subscription, because they'll fill you in one-line sentences, stuff like at the beginning where they're like,
how the hell did he just do that?
You know his suit's from Wakanda, right? That's why he can do that. Just filled you in one sentence. Joaquin Torres gets told Isaiah Bradley was the original Captain America, and he's like, oh, bro, where you been? We could have used you in Infinity War. And Isaiah goes, yeah, they threw me in prison for 30 years. They quickly filled you in on Isaiah Bradley's backstory in one sentence, but I do think you miss out a lot in the impact of that character if you did not watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier and sat through that awesome monologue he had in that show.
I bust out of the facility one night and I brought them boys back. And what did I get for saving their lives? For the next 30 years, they experimented on me, trying to figure out why the serum worked.
In this movie, it was a one-sentence fill in the audience of the tragedy behind this character, and it was played as a joke too. That cheapens it for me. But then, flipping onto the things I did like about this scene, the fact that Sam Wilson, on his spare time, is being trained by a Captain America, Isaiah Bradley, where they have this training course where he has to rip the flags off of him. I like that the movie did that, because there will always be those group of people who don't like Sam Wilson as Captain America because he doesn't have the serum. But the movie did enough in there where it let you know why Steve Rogers had enough faith to pass on the shield. Sam Wilson is a good guy. They bring back up that he was a counselor for vets. I'm glad that they didn't forget that was part of his character. Again, the fact that he was being trained by a Captain America with soldier serum I thought was smart. And we do have moments in the movie where Sam is like, I know what it's like to live up to that pressure, and I think to myself, should I have taken that serum? Good internal struggle and nice development for Sam. It was stuff like that that made me go, yeah, I like this dude as Captain America. Say whatever you want. I think he deserves that shield. But from here, Sam Wilson, Joaquin Torres, and Isaiah Bradley get invited to the White House for a little meeting with the president, and this is where I also really enjoyed that dynamic between the three when they were inside the limo, when they were going up to the White House and taking a photo and a selfie together. These were the strongest supporting characters out of all the movie, and I thought their chemistry was good, and it was heartbreaking whenever Isaiah got mind controlled and had to go back to prison. When he was looking at the camera and saying, I can't go back. I can't. I was feeling it for Sam. That was the strongest motivation, not the world ending or another country getting adamantium. No, it was, Sam, I need you to make sure he doesn't rot in prison, because that would also break my heart. But again, I wonder if you would feel that way that I'm feeling if you didn't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier and understood everything that was done to that character. And well, at this point in the movie, Captain America goes rogue, as Captain America seems to always do in his movies. It is just tradition. This is really where the movie was picking up for me, and I was feeling those Winter Soldier vibes. I was actually invested in them trying to figure out this mystery. I knew who was behind it, the leader, Samuel Stearns, but I did like the characters trying to uncover that and the reasoning why and the bigger overall plot. Plus, we even had a moment where Sam Wilson is just driving, and out of nowhere, Giancarlo Esposito's character comes back and tries to kill him. This was probably one of my favorite action sequences of the movie, because it put Sam Wilson in a situation where he had to fight without his suit. Because, well, I said, although I'm very happy Sam Wilson isn't taking the serum and is trying to be Captain America just on his own, he does kind of cheat with that Wakanda suit that has all the gadgets. So giving him a sequence where he fights against Giancarlo Esposito and he wins, but he does struggle, gets stabbed a couple of times, uses his wits, just love that. Really great for the character. But then, this is then where they start to uncover who's behind it all. So let's just talk about him. The leader, aka Samuel Stearns, finally wrapping up this character that was set up all the way in 2008. And man, they just couldn't seem to figure out how they wanted him to look. That's one of the big changes this movie also had. There has been leaked Funko Pops and even merchandise of what the leader was supposed to look like in the original version of this movie, and I don't hate that design. I think that design is great, and I kind of would have preferred that than what we got in the movie. Because in the movie, he doesn't have the big old head. He just more has like his brain and a bulge sticking out. Honestly, the guy looks like a rotted piece of broccoli. And what made it worse is because that was the original design, and then in reshoots, they changed it and made the design something else. Almost every time the guy shows up, the scene feels cheap because you see him standing in front of a green screen, or the movie's quality dips down because it's a reshoot. It doesn't have the love and care of a regular scene in the movie, and that just made it all that much worse. Some positives though, before I get into again with my disappointment with the leader in this movie. I think Tim Blake Nelson gives an awesome performance, man. He has this deep and subtle way of talking, and I love that. Really gave him this ominous presence, and he did feel like the intelligent threat he's supposed to be. But man, his plan and overall thing he's been working towards, what a bummer. So we find out in the movie that ever since he got turned into the leader all the way back in 2008's The Hulk, General Thunderbolt Ross got a hold of him, put him in prison, and realized since now he has this enhanced intelligence, he could use that to his benefit. And all this time, he's kept him in a research facility where he gave him a lab, and he's been working on stuff, weapons, helping Ross cure his heart disease that's keeping him alive. He's feeding him this pills that is keeping Ross going, but is also turning him into the Red Hulk. And well, after all this time, and Ross finally becoming president and promising the leader that he would set him free one day, and doesn't, the leader's plan, with all his intelligence and how brilliant he is and how big of a threat he could actually be, his big old plan is just to trick Japan into thinking we're trying to steal adamantium for him, not wanting to work together as a treaty, and then reveal to the public that Ross is a scumbag who does shady things in the dark. And once I'm done with that, I'm okay to go back in prison and continue being a prisoner, even though that's what set up my motive this whole time. What a waste. That made me so mad. This is a character that is supposed to be insanely intelligent, has had a decade plus of time of stewing and planning, and that is the best they came up with? Dude, I thought I was disappointed with the outcome of the Abomination becoming a pacifist and not wanting to be a fighter. What did you do to the leader? Kevin Feige, what happened on the set of The Incredible Hulk in 2008 that you just want to destroy everything that touched that movie? And it's frustrating again, because I see Tim Blake Nelson giving this awesome performance and the idea that with a good script and a nice plot, he could have been a really nice threat. One that would totally make sense for a Hulk movie, even in his Smart Hulk form. I hate the Smart Hulk, but sure, put up Smart Hulk again against Smart, the leader, and I would love to see the battle of the minds and muscles with that, but we will never see that. Instead, it's a Captain America movie. And that's really kind of what bugs me the most about this movie. Although I like that they're trying to tie up loose ends. They're bringing in the stuff from Eternals with the Celestial Head, stuff from Incredible Hulk, this movie, that project. When I really come in thinking about it, this still should not have been the plot for Sam Wilson's first Captain America movie. You know what should have been the plot? What happened in The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Cut out the fat and unnecessary characters, and really the overall themes of that movie should have been Sam Wilson's first Captain America movie. Him struggling with the fact that should he take up the shield, someone else has it, that's the main villain, US agent, and have that film end with him earning the shield, getting his costume, and starting his career. And then this movie sure could have been the second film. There's just so many unnecessary characters that don't feel that tied to Sam Wilson. Because, okay, let's get into some of the other people that were in here but that were slightly changed. We have this character named Ruth, who you guys have probably heard so much controversy with. If you didn't, she was originally supposed to be this character named Sabra, that is an Israel Marvel superhero. But of course, with all the controversy and things happening with that country, Marvel got really scared, didn't want the real world politics to affect their politic movie, which is actually funny that that's happened twice now to Sam Wilson, because the original plot of Falcon and Winter Soldier was going to center around these group of people that created a virus that spread across the world and a vaccine that was going to cure them. Oh, but they ended up minimizing that plot in the show because COVID was happening around that time. Now here you're throwing in this Israel superhero and it's like, oh, something's happening in our world. Let's back up on that. But although they mentioned in the movie she's still from Israel, her backstory has been changed to be a former Black Widow. And again, putting aside the outside controversy, her character in herself just really doesn't add much into the movie. You know who maybe should have had that role? Sharon Carter. This person you kind of set up as a villain and is a real current loose end tied to Sam Wilson. She could have had this role in the movie and it just would have tied in better. Why try to throw in this barely known superhero into the movie? And she still does wear a blue and white costume later on in the film, not a Black Widow looking costume at all. So there was that. And there was another character that was cut entirely of the movie that was another Hulk related character. It was reported that in Captain America Brave New World, they were going to introduce Amadeus Cho. You might be seeing him currently right now in your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in animated form, but in the comics, he's known as the totally awesome Hulk. He was even going to be played by Logan Kim, who is in the Ghostbuster franchise. I think it was smart not to have him included in the movie, because why do we need more Hulk characters in a Captain America film? But you could honestly tell what his role was originally going to be in the movie, because there's a scene where Sam Wilson needs to figure out what is inside these pills that Ross is taking. In the current version of the movie, Sam goes up to a military friend of his and says, hey, can you figure this out for me? You got a guy? And he's like, yeah, I got a guy. And I can tell you that's what Amadeus Cho was going to do in this movie. Sam Wilson was probably going to find a scientist who studies gamma, hands him the pills, maybe even keeps them, works on them so that he can become the Hulk somehow. That's definitely what his role was going to be in the movie, but that got cut out. And also, sorry to say it, that military friend, another useless character that really did need to be part of the film. And well, the last big thing before we get to the finale and post-credit scene of this movie is it looks like at one point there was going to be a big funeral in this movie. It's in the trailers, and we even have set photos with Betty Ross in attendance, looking like maybe at one point in this movie the film was going to end with Harrison Ford, Red Hulk, dying and everybody in attendance. Well, that didn't end up happening. They try to fake us out that like Falcon gets seriously injured and might die, but he pulls through. It's just wild seeing how much of this movie was going to be completely different, and then they just chopped it, and this is what we were given. But now this brings us into the final fight of the movie. It is well into the film, and you're like, dude, Harrison Ford has not turned into the Red Hulk yet. It finally ends up happening, and you know what? I think best fight of the entire film. I really liked what they did. I know people were like, how is Sam Wilson going to survive? What's going to happen? Stan Lee always said it best.
So one question I'm always asked, who would win in a fight? And there's one answer to all of that. It's so simple. The person who'd win in a fight is the person that the script writer wants to win. If I'm writing a story about The Thing with Spider-Man, if I want Spider-Man to win, he'll win. If I want The Thing to win, he'll win. The writer can do whatever he wants with him, so stop asking those bonehead questions.
And they make it work. In the comics, Red Hulk's weakness is sharp blades, and I was surprised at the amount of times they cut up Red Hulk in here, in his back, stabbed him in his side. That's faithful to the character. He's bulletproof, but sharp objects, yeah, they'll get through him. And Sam does enough with his wings to hold his own and come very close to dying, but he doesn't, and I was just pretty entertained with it. I just wish there was more Red Hulk in the movie, and it wasn't something that they heavily marketed only to give us about 7 minutes of. Also, a lot of moments towards the end of that Red Hulk fight that were clear reshoots where, again, it stops looking like an expensive movie and you just clearly see two characters standing in front of a green screen. And that's just the kind of stuff that really cheapened it and took me out. But Sam Wilson ends up winning, calming down Red Hulk. Harrison Ford goes back into his human form and they arrest the president. We get a nice reverse shot of what happened from Captain America Civil War, where Sam Wilson was in prison and Ross was on the other side. Now that's been flipped. I guess that's a cool parallel. And we get the cameo of Betty finally seeing her father and Ross changing. You know, I like Harrison Ford and his performance was pretty good throughout the movie, but there is a part of me that just didn't fully buy into his transition into wanting to be good, into finally now wanting to believe in superheroes. Yes, they bring up that after Endgame and half the world disappearing, he realizes the importance of the Avengers, but at the same time, if he's doing it for his daughter, I did like that. I just wish the Betty cameo actually meant something to me. I'd rather see Betty meet back up with Bruce and figure out why those characters have not gotten together. And well, I guess speaking of cameos, the one cameo I was very happy with is Bucky shows up in the movie. It comes right when Sam Wilson is in the hospital looking after the Falcon, and they have a great conversation about why Sam doesn't need the serum. They have a good bit of bromance, and now Bucky is one of the only members that has been in every single Captain America movie. I will say though, it's kind of shocking that they're pushing for Bucky to be part of Congress, because he's like, oh, I gotta go do this campaign. When canonically, the Winter Soldier is the one who killed John F. Kennedy in this timeline, and now dude's about to be a part of Congress? Slay. That nitpick aside, though, I think that is kind of an interesting route for Bucky, and I'm curious where that'll go when we see him in Thunderbolts. But alright, let's get into that post-credit scene that, oh my goodness, Kevin Feige, if you have nothing interesting or nothing good to tease, no post-credit scene is fine. No post-credit scene is fine. But instead, what we end up getting is a clear reshoot scene that was done last minute of Sam Wilson going back to the raft, but this time he visits the leader, and through their conversation, the leader brings up his probabilities, which has been his whole thing throughout the movie. The probability of me winning, the probability of you losing. Dude was not good at probabilities because he ended up losing. But somehow, through this entire political plot and him going after the president and how grounded everything is, he tells Sam Wilson, I've deduced the probabilities. You're not the only heroes. What are you gonna do when they come for your world? And I just slapped my face in my hand and I said, boy, what the heck? Not only is it one of the most vague post-credit scenes, because if they decide to make it about Kang, the way he phrases it, yeah, you could make that about Kang. But in the current version, it fits more with what's happening with Secret Wars, where there's other worlds out there, whether it's the Fantastic Four world, or where Monica Rambeau ended up at the end of the Marvels in that X-Men world, our MCU timeline. All these worlds are eventually going to merge, and we're going to have Battle World, and heroes are going to fight for their universe. But dude, how would he know that? Your entire plan and plot was so grounded and simple and built on politics. Let me ruin the president's reputation. But at the same time, I figured out the multiverse. Fuck you! Sorry, that is Morbius Sony level bad post-credit scene, guys.
Intriguing.
And again, I hate how there's some people that just accept that and go, no, that's a good tease because it's about Doomsday and Secret Wars, Chris. Think it logically. How could he know? This guy was stewing in a prison, making a medicine, building a plot that involved him going to prison. Where in that did he figure out multiverse? It is so sad to see that this is what is becoming of the MCU, and it is just not giving me the biggest confidence in Doomsday and Secret Wars. I want to hold that hope. I want to shill like crazy for this world. I'm not ashamed of it. These movies brought me excitement. I spent my childhood watching them. I want to root for these movies till I die, and when I see stuff like that, boy, it is hard to get defensive of you, buddy. And really, we haven't even talked about the adamantium, because that's just really an afterthought. Yeah, it's introduced in the movie, it's in there, and somehow it'll eventually tie into the X-Men and Wolverine, but right now, it's just there. Felt more just like a random buzzword to get little nerds excited. Adamantium? I know what that is. Oh man, I really like Sam Wilson as Captain America though. I am excited to see him in Doomsday and Secret Wars and trying to be a leader to the Avengers. Because although, like I said, I buy him as Captain America, I want to see if I can buy him as a leader. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I know I got heated and mad, but it's those little mini details. Overall, I still enjoyed it, but dude, I wanted to love this thing. With what I got, I liked it, but I don't know if we're gonna get a full trilogy of Sam Wilson as Captain America. This might be his one and only movie. That makes me a little sad. This is where I throw it off to you guys, though. You've seen Captain America Brave New World. You saw that post-credit scene. What do you think really worked in this movie? What do you think didn't work? How do you feel about some of the changes that got removed and added onto the film? Anything and everything, be sure and let me know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.